When the Twilight saga started in 2008, it spawned a vampire frenzy among teen audiences, creating a $3 billion franchise. With the Twilight movies recently trending on Netflix, many fans are revisiting the franchise to relive Bella and Edward's story again, relishing in the nostalgia of it all. However, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that the vampire films aren't as perfect as they may remember. The Twilight movies have become a cultural phenomenon, somehow holding up and remaining popular nearly 2 decades on. Therefore, it's easy to say that the Twilight movies have aged quite well, regardless of critical response. That being said, from film crews being visible to changing outfits, there are quite a few goofs, continuity errors, and editing mistakes throughout the Twilight franchise. 10. The self-driving truck. Twilight, 2008. Perhaps one of the more obvious errors in the franchise happens quite early on, just minutes into the first Twilight movie, when Charlie drives Bella through Forks. Having moved away from Phoenix while her mom and stepdad go on the road, Bella introduces the audience to Charlie and the city of Forks. As they wait at an intersection, a large blue truck carrying logs drives slowly past. However, what is extremely strange about this shot is that the truck doesn't appear to have a driver, and the cab looks completely empty. Considering the truck is the focus of the scene, some fans have caught on to the lack of a driver, especially as the angle allows us to see very clearly inside the window. Yet, 17 years on, the self-driving truck and its missing driver still remain a mystery. 9. Tyler's disappearing vest. Twilight, 2008. When Bella first arrives at the high school, she pulls up in an old red truck, something which stands out among the other more modern cars in the lot. As a result, a student, Tyler, comments, "Nice ride." The sarcastic remark highlights how much of an outcast Bella is among her peers in the Twilight movies. Yet, if you watch carefully, you will notice something strange about Tyler's outfit. In the wide shot of Bella's truck and surrounding students, Tyler is wearing a red hoodie. However, in the "nice ride" close-up, he is clearly wearing a grey vest on top. When Bella walks past, Tyler is once again just wearing a red hoodie. Tyler's grey vest appears in such a small clip, but the continuity error is quite obvious, and it was probably a result of multiple takes being used. 8. Victoria's eyes. Twilight, Eclipse, 2010. While Victoria had appeared in the previous movies, she returns with a vengeance in Twilight, Eclipse. Twilight recast Rochelle Lefever's Victoria with Bryce Dallas Howard for the third film, when Victoria's storyline came to a head. Wanting revenge on Edward for killing her lover James in Twilight, Victoria sets out to kill Bella. However, Edward, alongside the werewolf Seth, was finally able to defeat Victoria and Riley. When Edward killed Victoria, Victoria's severed head notably had her eyes open in shock, yet, when Bella came closer, her eyes were suddenly closed. There is no reason why Victoria's eyes should close after her head was severed. Therefore, this is just a continuity error caused by lack of control when changing camera angles. 7. Bella's traveling cannula. Twilight, 2008. Twilight focused on Edward and Bella's budding romance, and the threat of vampire James. Luring Bella away by threatening her mother, James attacks Bella, before she is rescued by Edward and the Cullen family. After Bella's shocking ordeal, she ends up in hospital recovering from her wounds. However, Twilight fans may notice a rather annoying continuity error as the camera switches, waking for the first time. In the extreme close-ups, Bella's cannula is in a tight V form and covers part of her eyes. Yet, in the wider shots, talking to her mom, the cannula is quite loose and nowhere near her eyes. This changes again when Edward wakes up, with the cannula positioned like in the close-up. Once you notice this small detail, it is hard not to see the traveling cannula on a Twilight rewatch. 6. Lock-screen phone call to Rosalie. Twilight, Breaking Dawn, Part 1, 2011. During their extended honeymoon off the coast of Brazil, Bella realized that she was pregnant. This situation changed the dynamic between Bella and Edward in Twilight, Breaking Dawn, Part 1, as Edward originally wanted to get rid of the child, fearing for Bella's health. However, when Edward was loading up the bags at the airport, Bella quickly called Rosalie for help in protecting the child. Unfortunately, Twilight falls victim to a common movie error. When Bella calls Rosalie, her phone is still very visibly on the lock screen. The call obviously went through, as Rosalie helps Bella throughout the pregnancy, and later defends Renesmee at the end of Twilight, Breaking Dawn, Part 2. However, with no caller screen, the unlucky angle provides an immersion-breaking moment to a very serious scene. 5. Live news report time difference. Twilight, Eclipse, 2010. When Riley Beers and Victoria started amassing an army, the Cullens took note of the rising vampires when they turned on the TV in Twilight, Eclipse. Around 30 minutes in, Carlisle, Jasper, and Emmett watch a live news report about the escalating murders and disappearances in the area. Bella and Edward arrive just as Carlisle declares they need to do something, but something is off about the timing of the report.